can also be reached at 847-579-9736. At the Dick Barr Group, your property goals are their mission.
This is Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Fidelity National Title Insurance Company, offering title insurance and real estate services. With origins tracing back over 150 years, Fidelity National Title facilitates secure closing processes for buyers, sellers, and realtor and Shotland law firm, offering legal services across various areas including criminal defense, real estate, family law, and more. Harder & Shotland is committed to addressing the legal needs of individuals and businesses with a focus on thorough and knowledgeable representation. Information on Harder & Shotland Law Firm can be found at hardershotland.com or by visiting their office at 625 West Rollins Road in Round Lake Beach. They can also be reached at 847-546-0022.
Unlocking Lake County.
98.3 The Life.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Harder & Shotland Law Firm, offering legal services across various areas including criminal defense, real estate, family law, and more. Harder & Shotland is committed to addressing the legal needs of individuals and businesses with a focus on thorough and knowledgeable representation. Information on Harder & Shotland Law Firm can be found at hardershotland.com or by visiting their office at 625 West Rollins Road in Round Lake Beach. They can also be reached at 847-546-0022.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
You guys have a great radio station. You just play the best music.
Support for Unlocking Lake County comes from the Sly Marinka team at Cross Country Mortgage, specializing in a range of mortgage solutions tailored to meet the needs of homebuyers and homeowners. With a focus on delivering efficient and knowledgeable service, the Sly Marinka team is dedicated to facilitating a smooth mortgage process. Their office is located at 532 Lake Street, Suite A in Antioch, Illinois. They can also be reached at sly@ccm.com or by phone at 847-722-1775.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Unlocking Lake County.
98.3 The Life.
It's the best station on the radio.
Support for Unlocking Lake County comes from the Dick Barr Group at Village Realty, offering both residential and commercial real estate services across northeastern Illinois. Find us at our office located at 1915 East Grand Avenue in Lindenhurst, or visit us online at www.dickbarr.com. For a personal real estate experience, they can also be reached at 847-579-9736. At the Dick Barr Group, your property goals are their mission.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County.
Unlocking Lake County
with Dick Barr. 98.3 The Life.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Fidelity National Title Insurance Company, offering title insurance and real estate services. With origins tracing back over 150 years, Fidelity National Title facilitates secure closing processes for buyers, sellers, and real estate professionals. Anyone looking for more information can find them on the web at www.fntic.com. Fidelity National Title has offices located all throughout Lake and McHenry counties.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
You guys have a great radio station. You just play the best music.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Harder & Shotland Law Firm, offering legal services across various areas including criminal defense, real estate, family law, and more. Harder & Shotland is committed to addressing the legal needs of individuals and businesses with a focus on thorough and knowledgeable representation. Information on Harder & Shotland Law Firm can be found at hardershotland.com or by visiting their office at 625 West Rollins Road in Round Lake Beach. They can also be reached at 847-546-0022.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Unlocking Lake County.
98.3 The Life.
It's the best station on the radio.
Support Support for Unlocking Lake County comes from the Sly Marinka team at Cross Country Mortgage, specializing in a range of mortgage solutions tailored to meet the needs of homebuyers and homeowners. With a focus on delivering efficient and knowledgeable service, the Sly Marinka team is dedicated to facilitating a smooth mortgage process. Their office is located at 532 Lake Street, Suite A in Antioch, Illinois. They can also be reached at sly@ccm.com or by phone at 847-722-1775.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County
Unlocking Lake County.
with Dick Barr. 98.3 The Life.
Support for Unlocking Lake County comes from the Dick Barr Group at Village Realty, offering both residential and commercial real estate services across northeastern Illinois. Find us at our office located at 1915 East Grand Avenue in Lindenhurst, or visit us online at www.dickbarr.com. For a personal real estate experience, they can also be reached at 847-579-9736. At the Dick Barr Group, your property goals are their mission.
This is Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Fidelity National Title Insurance Company, offering title insurance and real estate services. With origins tracing back over 150 years, Fidelity National Title facilitates secure closing processes for buyers, sellers, and real estate professionals. Anyone looking for more information can find them on the web at www.fntic.com. Fidelity National Title has offices located all throughout Lake and McHenry counties.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Your favorite show right here on 98.3 FM.
98.3 The Life.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Harder and Shop.
Real estate markets. Welcome to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr, where Dick unlocks your doors to everything happening in the community and tells you how you can use that to your real estate advantage. And now, here's your host, Dick Barr.
And welcome back. This is Dick Barr, your host of Unlocking Lake County, here on 98.3 The Life FM, here in the studio with Kristen Kaufman.
Hello, hello.
And back again is Sly Marinka.
Hello, everybody.
And wow, that was hot. Let's
Yes.
get you down a little bit there. A little bit of technical difficulties this morning. Later in the show, during our featured segment, we got two gentlemen here with SugarLeaf Hemp Dispensary. We've got Chris and Dominic. Say hi, guys.
Howdy.
Hi there.
And thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
You're going to learn all about real estate in Lake County today. And then we're going to learn all about hemp.
Love it.
I can't wait because I know nothing about it.
Can't wait to teach you.
That's awesome. Great. Okay, so I got to apologize. We've got some technical difficulties here where Kristen can't hear us.
I cannot.
Is that difficult to talk when you're not hearing it in the headphones?
No, not really. I mean, we're all in the same room. I can still hear you. I just don't hear the broadcast.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair
so
enough.
if I start talking over like any sound effects or music that you guys have going, I have no idea it's happening.
Oh no, you can't hear
sound effects
my
today.
great sound effects. Tell you what, I won't make you feel bad. We won't use any. So don't, and just like this, you can't say anything that's like cheer-worthy. So I don't want to play the sound effects that Chris can't hear.
No problem.
That's okay. I don't think Sly has the best news for us today.
Oh, I know.
I'll make my own sound effects.
Jesus, Sly. Well, we've got some major discussions we need to have about what you in the mortgage industry are doing to us.
Yes, it's been quite a ride here since the 50 basis point massive Fed rate cut we saw in September. Everything that's happened since then has really put a damper on that massive Fed rate cut. So we'll talk about that during the Mortgage Minute and everything else.
What is it? Is it just the bond market's giving a big FU to the Fed?
It's really more the news that's come out since then, and basically the kind of the feeling that the Fed maybe isn't going to cut rates as quickly as investors had hoped, seeing that first 50 basis point rate cut. We know the markets are always looking forward. And now that the recent jobs number that came out last week blew the expectations out of the water, which we'll talk a little bit about. Why would they cut rates quickly if the economy is still quote unquote strong? So talk about that
sneaky
baskets.
a little bit.
Why indeed?
Yes. So interesting stuff going on, and have to keep an eye on it and see what happens.
Okay. Yeah, this is I've noticed this is starting to get more and more busy politically. Starting to see the signs going up in the neighborhoods, starting to see them on all the roadways, starting to see a lot more division happening within the communities.
Yeah.
My least favorite time of year.
Yeah.
I just want to wake up after it's all over and be done with it, because the arguments you're seeing on social media and the memes and all that, it's just like, just agree to disagree and move on. Why comment?
Right? No, because I'm convinced that I can change your mind.
Yeah, right.
Facebook post. So we will talk a little bit of politics. I'm going to talk about the Forest Preserve today, and because they're asking for kind of a large sum of money.
Yeah.
$155 million. And back in 2008, they did another referendum that passed overwhelmingly. 68% people supported it. And there's no question that the forest preserves are a great place. But, I want to talk a little bit about my opinion.
Are they still paying that one back?
They're still paying it back, yeah.
They're still paying interest on that debt, and they want to take on
principal and interest, yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. You're familiar with principal and interest, aren't you?
Of course.
You're in the mortgage business.
Well, yeah. Yikes.
Yes. $149 million they still owe on the both the last referendum and some subsequent referendums that they didn't need public permission to do. I think recently they did a $50 million.
So then they want to take on an additional $150 million going forward, so they'll have to service $300 million worth of debt going forward, is what you're saying.
Yeah, basically.
Yikes.
Yeah, I think the current payment's like $5.6 million in debt service annually.
Yikes.
And so that number will go up now. But their argument is, well, it's only going to raise taxes for people. Like if they have a $300,000 house, it's only going to raise $33. But I think every inch in the wrong direction is still in the wrong direction.
Especially with the inches we've already gone recently. I'm getting the calls from clients left and right about their tax bills going up and their insurance going up, and we need some relief. What are we going to do here? And we were hoping with these low rates we were supposed to have that was going to happen, but looks like we're going to have to wait a little bit longer.
Yeah, I know. So, one day we hope, Sly, you'll give us those rates we're looking for.
I promise I will the second I'm able to.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so everyone, besides Kristen and Sly, is everyone else able to hear us? Okay. Okay, good, great. Kristen, can you do me a favor? Just keep an eye on, because we got a little bit of a hot start. I just want to make sure everything's cool with the stream.
Absolutely.
Just keep an eye on it.
Always.
Perfect. You're the best. Okay, we're going to jump right into the Market Minute because we got a lot to cover this week. I want to do what we can to get past this so we can start talking about the SugarLeaf and what you guys do. Be prepared. I'm going to ask you to be professors for a day because I want you to teach me what all of it is, because I know nothing.
Absolutely okay with that.
Okay, perfect, guys. So we're going to get started with my favorite soundbite
that I won't be able to hear.
That Kristen will not be able to hear.
Great.
It's always awesome. And here we go.
Stay on top of the market with Dick Barr's Market Minute.
Dick Barr's Market Minute.
Hello, everybody. This is Dick Barr, your host of Unlocking Lake County, here for your October 9th Market Minute. We're going to highlight the real estate activity in Northwest Lake County, then break it out municipality by municipality, tell you where it's hot and where it's not. Starting with the entire Northwest County region, we're sitting on 240 active property listings. This is the highest so far this year. 25 new listings this week, dropping half. The prior week we had 55 new listings, which is kind of good because it's, good if you're a seller, because that's limiting inventory. Limited inventory means usually quicker sales and higher sales prices. But really bad if you're a buyer and you really want to find something. Not a lot of options, and the options you have are starting to sell high. We have 45 homes have gone under contract in the past week, the same as last week. 185 have gone under contract in the past 30 days, which is up from the 160 the prior 30 days. Days on market average in the region is 26 days with a month supply of inventory at 1.3. Lowest home sold price in the past 30 days was $55,000 with a high of $1 million. And the highest active price still sitting there pretty at $4.9 million. Median home price in the region is $345,000. Now on over to Antioch, where we're sitting on 45 active listings. 11 new listings this week, up from the 7 the prior week. 5 homes have gone under contract in the past week, about the same as last week where there were 6. And 30 homes have gone under contract in the past 30 days. That's 1 home per day. And that's up about 50% from the prior month of 22. Days on market average is 20 days with a 1.5 month supply of inventory. $55,000 was the lowest homes price. Excuse me. $55,000 was the lowest home price sold, and $739 was the high, with a $2.3 million high and a $375,000 median. Now on over to Volo, Fox Lake, and Ingleside, where we're sitting on 36 active properties. 0 new listings this week. Big drop from 6 the prior week. 6 homes have gone under contract in the past 7 days, slightly up from the 4 in the prior, and then 23 homes have gone under contract in the past 30 days, which is about the same as last month. Days on market average is 32. That's tied for highest in the region, tied with the Grays Lake area, and a 1.6 month supply of inventory. Lowest home price was $182,000 with a high of $900, and $1.69 million is the highest active with a $320,000 median price. Now on over to the Grays Lake area, excuse me, where they are sitting on 40 active listings right now. 1 new listing this week, down from 8 the prior week. 8 homes have gone under contract in the past 7 days, down from 11 in the prior. 40 homes have gone under contract in the past 30 days. That's the highest in the region, and that's up from 28 the prior month. 32 days is a days on market average, and they're sitting on exactly 1 month supply of inventory. $110,000 is the lowest price sold, and $1 million is the high, with a $977,000 is the current highest active, and $335,000 is the median sales price. Now on over to Gurney, Wadsworth, and Old Creek, where they're sitting on 51 active homes, highest in the region
Wow.
again. Yep. Remember when it was 3?
I do.
Yeah.
February, March, April was like 3 to 6.
This year has been so weird.
Yeah, it sure has. And wide swings. Real estate is volatile, and it all depends on where people are moving from and where they're moving to. 4 homes have recently listed this week in the Gurney area, down from 11 the prior. 7 homes have gone under contract in the past 7 days, slightly down from 10 the prior. And 33 homes have gone under contract in the past 30 days, about the same as the prior month. 22 days on market is the average sales time, with a 1.5 month supply of inventory. And it looks like $265,000 was the lowest priced home sold, and $780,000 was the high, with a $4.9 million is the highest active property, and a median sales price of $382,000. Now on over to our backyard of Lindenhurst and Lake Villa, where we're sitting on 40 active listings, and that's the highest we've had all year. 3 new listings this week, big drop from last week where there was 9. 6 homes have gone under contract in the past 7 days. 5 homes have gone into contract in the past 7 days, slightly down from 7. And 28 homes have gone under contract in the past 30 days, tied last month. 25 days on market is the average market time, with a 1.4 month supply of inventory. Lowest priced home sold was $210,000 with a high of $565,000, and $4.5 million is the highest active. $375,000 is the median. Now, to finish off with the Round Lake area, where there 28 homes are active on the market. That's the lowest in the region. 6 new listings this week, about a drop in half from the prior week. 14 homes have gone into contract in the past 7 days, double last week's 7. And 31 homes have sold in the past 30 days, slightly down from the 36 the prior month. Days on market average in the Round Lake area is 25, with a month's supply of inventory just under a month at 0.9. In fact, it's the only region with less than 1 month supply of inventory. Lowest price home sold was $116,000 with a high of $499 and a highest active of $499.9. Median priced was $255. Okay, what do we got? Any surprises?
Not a lot of surprises, but definitely confirmation on what you're touching on as far as, when you are on the seller side of things right now, you're really putting yourself in a pretty decent position. I have a listing coming up that will be hitting the market next week, and I've already been receiving several phone calls from agents trying to get their clients in before anybody else can see it, because their buyers are really starting to have their backs against the wall trying to find a place.
Yeah. It's an itch
that time of year,
scratch.
right? I mean, it's that time of year. If you try to get something under contract now and get closed before the holidays, before the end of the year, before the weather turns, I mean, all of that.
Yeah.
Kristen, I know you had a cool experience the other day. I saw you post about it on Facebook where you got recognized by someone in the public who tell the story.
I did. Yeah. Oh my God. I was so nervous about it. So I pulled up to my daughter's school, and I was waiting outside, as you do, for your kid to come out to take them home. And I saw out of the corner of my eye one of the parents in the long line of cars get out of their car, which isn't crazy. Sometimes they walk up to the front door, so I didn't think anything of it. And then I saw the direction that they were moving, and I saw that they were kind of walking towards my car. And I'm like, okay, all right, let's see what's going to happen. And then I can tell they're very clearly walking towards my car, and my mind starts racing, right? I'm like, oh God, what did my kid do? Did my kid do something to your kid?
Oh no.
Did I park too close to your car? Is my music playing too loud? I don't think it's playing too loud. Oh man, I'm about to get reamed for something. Okay, here we go. And then all of a sudden it's like, knock, knock, knock. And I'm like rolling down my window, and I've got like my most cheerful voice on to try and like disarm whatever this absolute confrontation is going to be, right? I'm like, hi, how's it going? And they're like, hey, you're a realtor, right? And I'm like, yeah. Sure am. And they're like, can I just have your card? I'm real sorry to bother you. I just need your card. And I'm like, absolutely. And I happen to be like wearing my company sweatshirt too, and I've got like my company water bottle with me. I'm like, I'm so legit right now. Like, it was one of those moments where I'm like, yes, I was prepared for this physically. Because, you have those run-ins and you're in the grocery store. Fellow moms will understand what I'm saying when I say this. Like, you've got your hair up in a bun. You haven't done your makeup that day. Like, those are the times that you run into someone, right? So this happened. And this happened to be the opposite. I'm like, I'm so prepared for this. Here's my card. I even have my whole box of cards in my car, right? So I just went from like, oh no, what's going to happen, to, you're a realtor, right? Like, yes, I am. Here's my card. Thanks. Bye. But also I'm like, from my car, did you recognize me? Like, what, did you just see my face? I didn't ask for whatever reason, because I was, still expecting to get yelled at for some reason. I don't know why that was my go-to reaction. Like, someone's coming in my car, this is clearly going to be bad. I don't know why I went there. I'll have to work on that on another day.
There to yell at you, ask
Too
for
much
money.
road rage videos.
I know. I'm like,
Or you
why did
cut me
I
off
immediately assume it was going to be
ago.
bad? But it wasn't. It was a perfectly pleasant experience where I got to hand my card out to someone, and it was cool. So
one of the cool things about our profession is we actually welcome that. Like, how many other professions are you welcome? Like, if you're a doctor, you're at a party, you want someone to come up and say, hey, is this a bunion on my foot?
Yeah,
Right?
exactly. I know. My husband was laughing about that with me last night when I was telling him the same story. He's like, you have this whole job where you have to ignore all of your parents' advice. Like, talk to strangers, invite talking to strangers, and then meet them at second locations.
Yes.
Perfect.
Speaking of that, I had a cool conversation with someone recently. We were talking about, it was the Residential Real Estate Council. We had a monthly staff meeting, and they were talking about, we're trying to get someone to come to a class on how to get, maximize your tax write-offs, like in real estate and business. And the one person was bringing out the fact that this person that comes in, he gets all kinds of, I don't know how creative they are or how legit they are. He says, your concealed carry license and your training, that's a business write-off. Because you're showing up to these houses, if you're carrying and you're using it for protection on your job. I'm not saying this is a business write-off. So if you're listening to me, I'm not giving you tax advice.
Those are yours, IRS.
Conversation that we were having, right? But it's true.
Yeah.
You're doing all these kind of crazy things, putting yourself out into the public, raising the flag, saying, hey, how about me? How about me? And it's not always positive.
No.
Feedback you get when you're recognized.
Right.
As somewhat of a political gadfly, I know that all too well. How about you guys? You got people ever come up to you and say, "Hey guys, what's the story on hemp?"
I do actually all the time because I constantly wearing our shirts or something, so when people recognize it or ask a lot of questions. There's a lot of questions surrounding this, all across the board, especially from certain demographics, right? The older generation that's now getting warm to the fact that this is an option. Right, so it kind of we do get a lot of that actually.
I hate to break it to you, and for those listening on the radio who doesn't know and you can't see, Dominic's a pretty young guy. I hate to tell this to you, but the old generation always knew it was
41.
an
I'm 41 years old. I mean, I'm no spring chicken here, but at the same time, we're talking. We see a lot of 65 to even 70-year-olds coming into the store who've been. Essentially, this was the devil, right? This was really bad for so long,
right.
And now they're like the stigma's starting to come down. And Janice at Bingo is like, "Hey, I tried this CBD stuff and it worked," And so they're just more open to the idea of an alternative. And I think people are really tired of eating so many pills all the time.
There's so much truth to
they're
that.
really looking for other options, right?
You mean Big Pharma lied to us?
What? Man, don't even get me going down that road, brother.
But there is some
Great
truth to
slide.
that.
Now I just lost Pfizer as a sponsor.
Oh, geez. Yeah, I'll never forget the time that I watched my husband's 90-year-old grandfather ask him if he could get him some pot.
Right.
Yeah, and we were like, I mean, yeah.
I have a little old man in my neighborhood that walking his dog, and we get to talking. He's like, "What exactly do you do?" And I told him, and before I know it, he's showing up at my doorstep all the time, like, "Hey, man, wants to be friends with me," And I'm like, I think they're just realizing that maybe they were lied to for a really long time, right? And I think the internet has really changed so much.
Oh, sure.
In the way that we learn. So I think that's a lot of it, and our access to information. And it's really hard to just, it's harder to lie to people who are starting to open their eyes to like, this wasn't what we thought it was. So we do a lot of education. Like education is actually probably one of the main things we focus on in our company is helping people understand what's right for them, because nothing fits everybody.
Yeah.
Right? So the idea is it may or may not be for you, right? Like we're not even in that mindset of like this is for it. It is for everybody because your body has a system that absolutely is for it. Every mammal on the planet has this system, so it is for you. But that's still a choice, right?
Words and opinions expressed are not the attitudes of WRLR, the Life FM, nor Unlocking Lake County.
10-4. So yeah, I hear you. So it's just a matter of everybody learning that maybe it's something they should look into, right?
Yeah, no, it's cool. And that's why I want you guys here because I know you just opened up shop in Round Lake Beach.
We did,
and I'd love to know about what it is because I know nothing. So when just like was it Denzel Washington in Philadelphia story? Explain it to me like I'm a 6-year-old because I know nothing.
Definitely.
Yeah. So for those of you who want to hear that, it's going to be at our featured segment at 1 o'clock. So I want to kind of take this back and I want to jump back into this conversation about taxes. Right.
Yep.
Well, it seems to be a pretty consistent theme on this show because it's always a consistent theme because they hit us a couple times a year. They hit us with the 2 payments in May and September. They hit us with the blue cards coming out typically in like
mine.
August. Yep, you just got yours. And they went down, right?
Oh, yeah. $700 it went down. I'm sorry. It went up.
And we had James Pollard in last week. We talked about appeals of property taxes. And then it seems like every chance there's every time there's an opportunity for a taxing body to ask for more money, they take it.
Yeah.
And the problem is we've got so many taxing bodies. Illinois got the largest by far, by more than 2 times any other state. We've got 7,000 taxing bodies in the state.
Right. Really?
Yeah, the nearest closest is in Pennsylvania, and they've got it's less than 3,000.
Wow.
With the most taxing bodies. And because of it, all these taxing bodies get to say, well, we're such a tiny amount of your bill. Mm-hmm. But all of those tiny amounts put together is a full bill, and when they all go up, it hurts.
Does it help our school systems, though?
Say it again?
Is it helping our school systems?
You'll have to ask the people with the 10% proficiency ratings.
Now, real quick, for anybody who doesn't understand what you mean when you say that, what is a taxing body?
Allow me to bring in Gary the Ghost to talk about this. Don't worry, no, I'm not bringing them in. Only because you wouldn't hear the sound effects, Kristen. So what is a taxing body? So a taxing body is anyone who issues a tax bill. So and what is it? Okay, so only the treasurer for the county issues the tax bill, right? That's one bill. But every line item on there is a tax body. Your township, your school district, your park district, your library district, your fire protection district, your park district, your usually your highway, your roads and bridges, and county, forest preserve.
State.
Some people have cemetery districts. Municipalities, thank you. There's mosquito abatement districts.
Wow.
There's drainage districts. So sanitary districts. So it just, the list goes on and on and on and on, and how many you have. And so when you're, you might live in a town like, for instance, Round Lake Beach. It's got a very low tax rate. But the taxes in Beach are high because we also have a rather expensive park district. You know, so, and there's some places where, like Lake Villa Township, Lake Villa doesn't have a park district, and the township serves the purpose of their park district. So it gives them the recreation, it gives them the parks. So it's rather efficient. Now in Lindenhurst gets to take advantage of the Lake Villa Township parks, but it also has a park district. But Lindenhurst as a municipality is a very low tax rate. In fact, one of the lowest in the county. So it's all these overlapping areas that contribute to why we pay such, high property taxes. And the funny thing is even when taxing districts try to get, they're like, we have so much money, we can give some of it back to you. No, it happens too. It's you guys giggled, but it happens. So like a couple of years ago, the Lake Villa Fire Protection District said, we collected so much money, we can abate it back to you. So they gave everyone a free year of no tax to the fire district.
Wow.
And people were like, awesome. And then the next year, when they brought the tax back, everyone was mad because they raised their taxes $600.
Oh, no.
That's not what happened. And people were yelling at the fire district, how dare you? That should be criminal. You raised my tax $600. No, we abated you for 1 year, and now we're just going back to normal. So there's not incentive for these taxing bodies to abate some of that money. And in Illinois is especially bad with this. There's also no incentive for governments to say, we're going to save money this year because we know we'll need it next year. Because if you don't use it, you lose it.
Exactly.
Reminds me of that episode of The Office, Surplus.
Oh, yeah, when he's trying to see what he wants to buy, and then he offers him, he gets offered a percentage of the savings. I love that show.
I do too.
Did you see the new one coming out? It's based in Australia.
Oh.
It's predominantly female led.
Okay.
Like the Michael Scott character is a female.
Oh, cool.
I think the Dwight is also a female.
Oh, neat.
But it's Australian.
Okay.
Interesting.
I mean,
don't know.
I like
I just don't
Bluey,
find.
so.
Wait, what'd you say?
I said, I like Bluey, and so I think that, and there's a show called Wentworth that I got into. I think those are the only two shows from Australia that I'm familiar with. But
the last thing I ever watched from Australia was Crocodile Dundee. But it's like British humor. Like, I thought British Office was not as good as American Office, and it only lasted 3 years.
Yeah.
Right. Although I do like
Definitely
Monty
a little
Python.
drier.
I mean, it was
Much drier.
different. I would say that they were different enough to where you could like them both the same because they're completely different kinds of humor. Plus, what drew me into the American version of The Office was also like that rom-com side of things, right? Because that show has a way of sneaky, like just gets you in the feels. Whereas like I have a hard time imagining that developing in the British version of it. Granted, I don't think it lasted long enough to really develop that, right? Because it was only like
3
one.
years.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
I was only aware of one season. Well,
Yeah, 3. And I only know that because I, like you, thought it was one or two seasons, and I looked it up, and
interesting.
it turned out it was 3.
Well, yeah. So I have a hard
Nobody
time
watched the
picturing
third
that,
one.
like that storyline developing in the British version because it is so different.
Right.
But I liked them both.
What are you saying? British people can't be romantic?
Maybe, I don't know. I have no personal experience to say otherwise.
What's the guy's name? I like him. Ricky Gervais.
No, I love him.
He's hilarious.
I just love anybody who will just say what they're actually thinking all the time.
And it doesn't matter who his audience is.
Yeah,
Right.
Even actually, the more high profile, the better, because he's like, "Ooh, let me get him." I love it.
Yeah, no joke. Did you ever see it was because he's done the Oscars?
Yeah.
And
He won't
just-
ever again.
Oh no!
Really?
way.
I hear he keeps getting invited back.
You gotta be kidding me! He had them all squirming in their seats so bad. bed. That was awesome.
It's funny.
The Epstein list, Epstein list
Imagine
stuff.
making a
he
room
was talking
full of
about.
Really?
You'll
prominent
have a
people
field day with all
squirm.
the Diddy stuff.
Yeah.
Oh my
Oh my
God.
God! I
Imagine.
can't wait to hear what he has to say about all
Good.
that.
Yeah, I bet you no one shows up.
Mm-hmm.
if it's going to be him.
He hasn't walked on stage and slapped anybody, so he's got that going
There's
for him.
that.
Speaking of that, my daughter is a senior in high school, and she's doing the whole SAT thing and doing a little bit of internet research. Guess who had a 1600 SAT score? Famous person.
Will Smith.
Yeah. So say it
Really?
closer to the mic.
Will Smith.
Did you know that or guessed?
I actually did know that. He's very educated, and so is his kid. His kid is way ahead of his class.
Really? Huh. And he had a 1600 score,
Wow.
and he decided not to go to college.
Interesting.
He probably made the right choice. I
Yeah.
mean,
Probably. I think he did pretty well for
Yeah.
himself.
When you look at our generation and what college did for them, it wasn't a whole lot. So,
They're all back in college,
yeah, and they're all
figuring
in,
out what they want to do in their
Right.
adult life.
I see the student loans on people's credit reports
Paying off a
20
lifetime of
something
debt.
years later, and you're like, man, was it worth it?
whole. Unfortunately, a lot of people never climb out of.
Yeah, it's terrible.
I thought there was that loan forgiveness.
I just finished paying off my student loans for a degree I'm never going to use.
Yeah,
So.
see?
I think
What was it in?
I mean, it was just a general studies, but I was planning on doing. I wanted to work in the either like philosophy department. I really enjoyed all of the classes I was taking there, or I was eventually planning on maybe using it towards a law degree. And then I started working at a law office and realized I don't want your life. I don't want your life. I thought to myself, you guys all have families, but you never talk about your families because you never, ever, ever see them.
Wow.
I don't think that's for me. But then I got into real estate, so,
I could see you as a lawyer.
Oh, well, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Now hold on.
What kind of lawyer?
And in all fairness, because yes, I understand now that can come off as a slight. No, in our business, we know some pretty fantastic lawyers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right, people who are salt of the earth people. They're not the traditional, stereotypical lawyer that the jokes are, what do you call 1,000 lawyers on the bottom of the ocean? A good start. The lawyers that we deal with on a regular basis, they're all high quality. So, but I could see you being able to represent your clients well in the legal profession.
Thank you.
Doing your research. Well, don't thank me. You're the one who's doing it.
True. You're welcome.
They're perfect. Thank you very much. We're going to be right back after these words.
Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr will return in just a few moments after these important messages. Don't touch that dial.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Fidelity National Title Insurance Company, offering title insurance and real estate services. With origins tracing back over 150 years, Fidelity National Title facilitates secure closing processes for buyers, sellers, and real estate professionals. Anyone looking for more information can find them on the web at www.fntic.com. Fidelity National Title has offices located all throughout Lake and McHenry counties.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
You guys have a great radio station. You just play the best music.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Harder and Shotland Law Firm, offering legal services across various areas including criminal defense, real estate, family law, and more. Harder and Shotland is committed to addressing the legal needs of individuals and businesses with a focus on thorough and knowledgeable representation. Information on Harder and Shotland Law Firm can be found at hardershotland.com or by visiting their office at 625 West Rollins Road in Round Lake Beach. They can also be reached at 847-546-0022.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Unlocking Lake County.
98.3 The Life.
It's the best station on the radio.
Support for Unlocking Lake County comes from the Sly Marinka team at Cross Country Mortgage, specializing in a range of mortgage solutions tailored to meet the needs of homebuyers and homeowners. With a focus on delivering efficient and knowledgeable service, the Sly Marinka team is dedicated to facilitating a smooth mortgage process. Their office is located at 532 Lake Street, Suite A in Antioch, Illinois. They can also be reached at sly@ccm.com or by phone at 847-722-1775.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County
Unlocking Lake County.
with Dick Barr. 98.3 The Life.
Support for Unlocking Lake County comes from the Dick Barr Group at Village Realty, offering both residential and commercial real estate services across northeastern Illinois. Find us at our office located at 1915 East Grand Avenue in Lindenhurst, or visit us online at www.dickbarr.com. For a personal real estate experience, they can also be reached at 847-579-9736. At the Dick Barr Group, your property goals are their mission.
This is Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Fidelity National Title Insurance Company, offering title insurance and real estate services. With origins tracing back over 150 years, Fidelity National Title facilitates secure closing processes for buyers, sellers, and real estate professionals. Anyone looking for more information can find them on the web at www.fntic.com. Fidelity National Title has offices located all throughout Lake and McHenry counties.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Your favorite show right here on 98.3 FM.
98.3 The Life.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Harder and Shotland Law Firm, offering legal services across various areas including criminal defense, real estate, family law, and more. Harder and Shotland is committed to addressing the legal needs of individuals and businesses with a focus on thorough and knowledgeable representation. Information on Harder and Shotland Law Firm can be found at hardershotland.com or by visiting their office at 625 West Rollins Road in Round Lake Beach. They can also be reached at 847-546-0022.
Unlocking Lake County.
98.3 The Life.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Harder and Shotland Law Firm, offering legal services across various areas including criminal defense, real estate, family law, and more. Harder and Shotland is committed to addressing the legal needs of individuals and businesses with a focus on thorough and knowledgeable representation. Information on Harder and Shotland Law Firm can be found at hardershotland.com or by visiting their office at 625 West Rollins Road in Round Lake Beach. They can also be reached at 847-546-0022.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
You guys have a great radio station. You just play the best music.
Support for Unlocking Lake County comes from the Sly Marinka team at Cross Country Mortgage, specializing in a range of mortgage solutions tailored to meet the needs of homebuyers and homeowners. With a focus on delivering efficient and knowledgeable service, the Sly Marinka team is dedicated to facilitating a smooth mortgage process. Their office is located at 532 Lake Street, Suite A in Antioch, Illinois. They can also be reached at sly@ccm.com or by phone at 847-722-1775.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Unlocking Lake County.
98.3 The Life.
It's the best station on the radio.
Support for Unlocking Lake County comes from the Dick Barr Group at Village Realty, offering both residential and commercial real estate services across northeastern Illinois. Find us at our office located at 1915 East Grand Avenue in Lindenhurst, or visit us online at www.dickbarr.com. For a personal real estate experience, they can also be reached at 847-579-9736. At the Dick Barr Group, your property goals are their mission.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County.
Unlocking Lake County.
With Dick Barr. 98.3 The Life.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Fidelity National Title Insurance Company, offering title insurance and real estate services. With origins tracing back over 150 years, Fidelity National Title facilitates secure closing processes for buyers, sellers, and real estate professionals. Anyone looking for more information can find them on the web at www.fntic.com. Fidelity National Title has offices located all throughout Lake and McHenry counties.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
You guys have a great radio station. You just play the best music.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Harder and Shotland Law Firm, offering legal services across various areas including criminal defense, real estate, family law, and more. Harder & Shotland is committed to addressing the legal needs of individuals and businesses with a focus on thorough and knowledgeable representation. Information on Harder & Shotland Law Firm can be found at hardershotland.com or by visiting their office at 625 West Rollins Road in Round Lake Beach. They can also be reached at 847-546-0022.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Unlocking Lake County.
98.3 The Life.
It's the best station on the radio.
Support for Unlocking Lake County comes from the Sly Marinka team at Cross Country Mortgage, specializing in a range of mortgage solutions tailored to meet the needs of homebuyers and homeowners. With a focus on delivering efficient and knowledgeable service, the Sly Marinka team is dedicated to facilitating a smooth mortgage process. Their office is located at 532 Lake Street, Suite A in Antioch, Illinois. They can also be reached at sly@ccm.com or by phone at 847-722-1775.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County
Unlocking Lake County.
with Dick Barr. 98.3 The Life.
Support for Unlocking Lake County comes from the Dick Barr Group at Village Realty, offering both residential and commercial real estate services across northeastern Illinois. Find us at our office located at 1915 East Grand Avenue in Lindenhurst, or visit us online at www.dickbarr.com. For a personal real estate experience, they can also be reached at 847-579-9736. At the Dick Barr Group, your property goals are their mission.
This is Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Fidelity National Title Insurance Company, offering title insurance and real estate services. With origins tracing back over 150 years, Fidelity National Title facilitates secure closing processes for buyers, sellers, and real estate professionals. Anyone looking for more information can find them on the web at www.fntic.com. Fidelity National Title has offices located all throughout Lake and McHenry counties.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Your favorite show right here on 98.3 FM.
98.3 The Life.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Harder & Shotland Law Firm, offering legal services across various areas including criminal defense, real estate, family law, and more. Harder & Shotland is committed to addressing the legal needs of individuals and businesses with a focus on thorough and knowledgeable representation. Information on Harder & Shotland Law Firm can be found at hardershotland.com or by visiting their office at 625 West Rollins Road in Round Lake Beach. They can also be reached at 847-546-0022.
Unlocking Lake County.
98.3 The Life.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Harder & Shotland Law Firm, offering legal services across various areas including criminal defense, real estate, family law, and more. Harder & Shotland is committed to addressing the legal needs of individuals and businesses with a focus on thorough and knowledgeable representation. Information on Harder & Shotland Law Firm can be found at hardershotland.com or by visiting their office at 625 West Rollins Road in Round Lake Beach. They can also be reached at 847-546-0022.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
You guys have a great radio station. You just play the best music.
Support for Unlocking Lake County comes from the Sly Marinka team at Cross Country Mortgage, specializing in a range of mortgage solutions tailored to meet the needs of homebuyers and homeowners. With a focus on delivering efficient and knowledgeable service, the Sly Marinka team is dedicated to facilitating a smooth mortgage process. Their office is located at 532 Lake Street, Suite A in Antioch, Illinois. They can also be reached at sly@ccm.com or by phone at 847-722-1775.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Unlocking Lake County.
98.3 The Life.
It's the best station on the radio.
Support for Unlocking Lake County comes from the Dick Barr Group at Village Realty, offering both residential and commercial real estate services across northeastern Illinois. Find us at our office located at 1915 East Grand Avenue in Lindenhurst, or visit us online at www.dickbarr.com. or a personal real estate experience, they can also be reached at 847-579-9736. The Dick Barr Group, your property goals are their mission.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County
Unlocking Lake County.
with Dick Barr. 98.3 The Life.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Fidelity National Title.
Welcome back to Unlocking Lake County with your host, Dick Barr.
And welcome back from that very, very slow ride. Those watching on live stream don't know what I'm talking about, but we just played a super extended cut of Slow Ride by Foghat. Anyway, I know my guests were digging it though.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was digging it for sure.
Hey, welcome back. This is Dick Barr, your host of Unlocking Lake County. Here we are back, and with my beautiful co-host, Kristen Kaufman.
Hello, hello.
And my not-so-beautiful mortgage guy, Sly Marinka.
Beautiful on the inside.
Hello. And our guests in the studio, Dominic and Chris from SugarLeaf Dispensary.
For having us.
Pleasure. Yeah, great. Excellent. Yeah, that's the way we test our mics coming back, so we know we didn't lose you.
Yep.
Okay, so with not too much time to spare because of that slow ride, we're going to get right into Sly. Whoops, hold on. Not yet. Not yet, Sly. Don't start. Okay. Now you can... Whoop, not yet. Okay. Technical difficulties. Please stand by.
We're going to slide into
The Mortgage
Sly.
Minute with Sly Marinka and Cross Country Mortgage on Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
All right, Lake County. Back with the Mortgage Minute this week. I'm Sly Marinka with Cross Country Mortgage. We talked about it a little bit at the beginning of the show. We've seen the 30-year national average mortgage rate climb up to 6.61%. That's up from a low of 6.09% just before the Fed cut the rates. Makes no sense if you think about it, but we'll dive into a little bit of why that is happening and what the outlook is going forward. Also, the 10-year Treasury yield is up to 4.06%, up from 3.64% right before the Fed meeting. Again, that's not normal. Usually you would think Fed. Now the Fed doesn't control mortgage rates. They don't control the 10-year Treasury yield rates. They control short-term interest rates and the prime interest rate. However, the thing that they kind of move together. So when the Fed cuts rates, normally mortgage rates go down, and they did, and they have, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But just after some of the stuff that's kind of come out after the Fed meeting is really what's affecting this kind of weird phenomenon. We have to remember that we're still 1.3% lower average-wise on 30-year rates than we were a year ago at this time. Mm-hmm. So yes, the rates did come down, and they came down pretty significantly. But new data has come out. Last week there was a blockbuster jobs number that was released. The expectation was 140,000 new jobs to be created in September.
And what did they lie to say it was?
The jobs number came out at about 254,000 new jobs.
That'll be reduced down in March.
Well, and that's kind of what we've been seeing. So a lot of those jobs, if you really, really dig into it, a lot of it is government jobs. So the government's operating at a 6% of GDP deficit right now, but GDP growth is just barely 3%. So
yeah, it doesn't really line up.
Doesn't really line up, right? But without the government creating all these new jobs, the economy would be, probably already in a severe recession. Some people think we are, but the government jobs is what's really holding up holding down the unemployment rate and holding the jobs numbers up. So tomorrow is the CPI reading, the next inflation reading. It's expected to come in at 2.3%. That's what the consensus on the street is. If it comes in lower than that, we may see a little bit of a rebound, and we may see pricing on mortgages, interest rates come down a little bit. If the inflation number tomorrow comes out higher, could be a problem with these recent hurricanes and these recent storms and these recent We saw some price increases. Gas prices went up a little bit in fear of disruptions in the supply chain. We had the port strike that could have been disastrous. It turns out they worked everything out, or at least they kicked the can down the road until January. But just a lot of weird stuff kind of going on in the markets in general. So interesting to see what the inflation number comes out at tomorrow. And kind of how things go forward. This jobs number was a surprise because if you remember in July, the jobs number that came out was pretty weak. Same within August, and that's why the Fed cut rates 50 basis points instead of 25 basis points. So to see this kind of blockbuster number come out was really a surprise to the markets.
Yeah. Does it line up with the last 3 or 4 years?
Well, it doesn't line up with the last few months.
Okay.
So when things and things are always kind of trending, right? So. If the trend is less jobs being created, then all of a sudden you have a month where it's like, wait, what's going on here? Is there an election coming up or something? I didn't say that. I didn't mean that. So, but anyways, that's the data. So we just look at the data and we kind of say, this is what's going on.
I just thought it was interesting how the fallout from the dock workers strike, as soon as they started showing photos of this guy's mansion and his $800,000 yacht, all of a sudden deals were cut. And that my skeptical side said this is an election year. It was a storyline they didn't want to be told.
Yeah.
And so they said, okay, shut it down, give them what they want. We'll readdress it after the election.
Of course. Absolutely. Kick the can down the road, right?
Surprise.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll keep watching it. The current consensus is that there will be further Fed rate cuts. They just might be as accelerated as the first one. So we may not see 50 basis point rate cuts. We may not see any for the rest of this year. Now, I'll keep an eye on. I'll look at. I forgot to look at the odds of what another Fed rate cut this year was before today. So next time I will do that and see. So everybody that wanted to refinance and was hoping for rates in the 5s, we're just gonna have to wait a little bit longer.
Right.
I have a whole slew of clients that are just on the fence where we're starting to gather paperwork. We're just starting the process, but not locking anything in and. In hopes that maybe, there will be some significant relief, if not this year, early next year.
It is election year.
Yeah.
What's interesting, though, is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but what I'm hearing right now is that it's not great news as far as rates are concerned. But also, if you are someone who was considering buying this year and you were waiting to see if things were going to get better, what I'm hearing is that might not be the smartest move for you.
Yeah. I mean, again, nobody has this crystal ball that could tell you when the
Sure.
perfect time to buy is or anything like that. So,
But we're not seeing a whole lot of sense being made in continuing to wait. If you're considering getting into it, what are you waiting for at this point?
prices are yet still going up, right? So the people that, didn't buy in 2021 that bought in 2022 paid more.
Yeah,
The people that didn't buy in 2022 and wait until 2023, they paid more.
sure did.
I don't see that stopping.
Right.
Right. And the people that bought, even when it was 8% mortgage rates, got lower prices, and many of them already refied down.
Correct. Correct. So
There's been a lot of promises that people are waiting for to come to tuition, I think.
Yeah, we're just kind of seeing what's out there really, and I think a lot of buyers are I mean a lot of sellers. I mean, let's face it, we've talked about it how many times now where sellers have 2-3% interest rates. They don't want to get rid of them. They don't want to take a 6.5, well, a 7.5 interest rate. Maybe when they're
seeing a little bit more of a willingness to accept that though
I
and
have
just
too.
move forward, right?
Just this week,
Yeah,
I had
I'm-
someone that was at 2.75%, and they're like, you know what, we need to move. We need to be in a different school district.
Well, exactly. I always say it, and it's annoying, but it's true. The best time for you to sell your house is when your life is calling for it, when you need to sell your house. We
Correct.
can move around all the other variables.
Absolutely.
The market is what it is, but when it's time, it's time. And
Yes.
we're starting to see some more and more acceptance of that.
Yep.
When I got into our house, it was supposed to be a starter house. We're still there. This was 19 years ago. Yeah, this next year will be 20 years. It was supposed to be a starter house.
That was a starter house?
That was a starter
You have a
house.
nice home.
Yeah, it's a good start.
Yeah.
Nothing crazy. But we bought right in 2005, so right before it really just did the kerplunk with the mortgage rates. And we were in the same boat. Most people were. We were upside down immediately, so the chance of a refi was gone, and the chance to be able to sell it and get your money out was gone. And so we just wound up staying there. We stayed there so long, we wound up up loving our neighborhood even more. Now we're glad we stayed where we did.
Yeah.
You know, it was a great place. And but there is an elasticity. You know, traditionally in normal markets, 7-8 years is the average time people will spend in a home, and they'll either move up, move down, or move out, right? And we went almost 15 years without that happening. So, and that's kind of what we're seeing now is people are overstaying their desire to be in those houses.
Right.
So no matter what the circumstances are, that it's becoming elastic. The more we go out, the more pressure they feel to make that change and make that move, and we're starting to see that result. But I'm still convinced the higher rates go, the more expensive housing is going to get because you're still going to get so many people standing on the sidelines. They don't want to give up that rate if they're really thinking about it.
I had a conversation just yesterday with an elderly gentleman that, you know, is looking to downsize, and he's at a, you know, super low interest rate, you know, super low payment. And I'm like, buddy, stay put.
Just take the second floor off.
Like you're not, you know, with the current rates and what you're planning on putting down and, you know, everything else. I'm like, you're not going to get, you know, that payment again. And if that's what you're concerned with, now in his case, there's other stuff going on too. So he's kind of got to make a move. But, you know, he was real disappointed when I told him what his new payment's going to be versus what he's paying now for less house.
See, that's what I love about the way that you do business, though, Sly. You're not someone who's just going to take anybody's business no matter what the circumstances are. Like, you'll be honest and let someone know, I'll do it if you want me to do it, but it really doesn't make sense for you. And I think that that's really cool. You know, you're not just there to convince people to do stuff.
Well, I appreciate it, and that's how everybody should do business, in my opinion.
Agreed.
Yeah, here.
Sometimes to my detriment, because I have literally
talk
people out of doing something
But
that
you
they
don't
really
but
want
you
to
know
do.
reality
But
of
I
that
sleep
is-
well at night.
Exactly.
You sleep well at night, but it also comes back to you.
That
Yeah,
part.
of course,
Absolutely,
obviously.
karma.
When you make customer service your goal for business, it will always come back to you. And it might not come from that person.
Right.
But guess who they're going to recommend?
Yeah.
You know, 3-4 times down the road. You guys know this.
When you
You're
get
in
good
customer
at
service
doing the right
business.
thing and people know that, they trust you,
Yeah,
right? And so they
absolutely.
will talk about you a whole lot more when they believe that what they say about you is actually really true, and that they know you're going to take care of the people that they send to you. It matters a lot, actually.
Right.
Yeah, and then you're not doing business looking over your shoulder all the time. You know, I can't imagine being
absolutely.
someone who does business, especially in our realm of work where we're handling people's most likely largest financial decisions of their lives. I can't imagine doing that in any sort of slimy way. I'd be looking over my shoulder all the time, hoping something that I did didn't catch up with me.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And a reputation. Reputation's everything.
Yeah.
You know, it's
And
it's-
integrity.
it's integrity.
Putting your head down on a pillow at the end of the day, knowing that you operate with honesty and integrity is everything in my book.
Yeah.
What's
same.
interesting, though, talking about prices, there seems to be a lot, and there's probably some truth to it, but there seems to be a lot of discourse about how, like, all homes are, like, historically high. They've never, everything's so overpriced. A selling client of mine had purchased their home in 2007. So right at the bad time. And we've done the analysis on what they should be currently selling their house for based on current market prices that match up with their property, and it's about the same amount of money that they bought their house for. Yeah.
In 2007,
Yeah, well, because they bought it at such a
At
high
that time, 17
price.
years later.
that's
Yeah.
when the interest only correct or the recession.
Yeah.
It was just.
It was either the end of 2008 or 2007, 2008. So it's like sure, they're high, but are they historically high? Had never been higher? I don't know as far as like.
Well, there's no question the median. The median is the highest it's ever been.
Sure.
By far. And yes, there's pockets where the recoveries were slower than usual. There were also pockets where they were even higher inflated than others around them and other neighborhoods around them. So you could have bought in the highest house in the highest neighborhood in the absolute wrong time. And then, yes, I definitely think that can be the case, especially if we see it neighborhood to neighborhood. There's fluctuation. You know, there's not every neighborhood is going to sell as well as another neighborhood, even if they're real close and the construction quality is similar. You know, a lot goes into that. And because of the way appraisals work, where they only look a mile out, you can be 1.1 miles away from the exact same house that sells fantastically high. But no one in your neighborhood sold that high,
Right.
so you're not worth it.
They go the closest gives the most weight. So
Yes.
if you're 3 doors down house, maybe wasn't as nice and sold for less, that's the one that's gonna weigh the most on the appraisal.
Yeah.
So I had a situation like that. My first house in McHenry, right around the time of the recession, right after the recession, we were selling, and we 0.3 miles away, and how much lower the property taxes were, and how much more the houses were selling for, or the value of them versus what I had that I was trying to get out of.
Yeah.
And I was like, how is that possible? Frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to keep track with. So we're going to try and stay on track. We're going to switch over and do one more break before we come back with our friends here from SugarLeaf Hemp Dispensary. We'll be right back.
Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr will return in just a few moments after these important messages. Don't touch that dial.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Fidelity National Title Insurance Company, offering title insurance and real estate services. With origins tracing back over 150 years, Fidelity National Title facilitates secure closing processes for buyers, sellers, and real estate professionals. Anyone looking for more information can find them on the web at www.fntic.com. Fidelity National Title has offices located all throughout Lake and McHenry counties.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
You guys have a great radio station. You just play the best music.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Harder and Shotland Law Firm, offering legal services across various areas including criminal defense, real estate, family law, and more. Harder and Shotland is committed to addressing the legal needs of individuals and businesses with a focus on thorough and knowledgeable representation. Information on Harder and Shotland Law Firm can be found at hardershotland.com or by visiting their office at 625 West Rollins Road in Round Lake Beach. They can also be reached at 847-546-0022.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Unlocking Lake County.
98.3 The Life.
It's the best station on the radio.
Support for Unlocking Lake County comes from the Sly Marinka team at Cross Country Mortgage, specializing in a range of mortgage solutions tailored to meet the needs of homebuyers and homeowners. With a focus on delivering efficient and knowledgeable service, the Sly Marinka team is dedicated to facilitating a smooth mortgage process. Their office is located at 532 Lake Street, Suite A in Antioch, Illinois. They can also be reached at sly@ccm.com or by phone at 847-722-1775.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County
Unlocking Lake County
with Dick Barr. 98.3 The Life.
Support for Unlocking Lake County comes from the Dick Barr Group at Village Realty, offering both residential and commercial real estate services across northeastern Illinois. Find us at our office located at 1915 East Grand Avenue in Lindenhurst, or visit us online at www.dickbarr.com. For a personal real estate experience, they can also be reached at 847-579-9736. At the Dick Barr Group, your property goals are their mission.
This is Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Fidelity National Title Insurance Company, offering title insurance and real estate services. With origins tracing back over 150 years, Fidelity National Title facilitates secure closing processes for buyers, sellers, and real estate professionals. Anyone looking for more information can find them on the web at www.fntic.com. Fidelity National Title has offices located all throughout Lake and McHenry counties.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Your favorite show right here on 98.3 FM.
98.3 The Life.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Harder and Shotland Law Firm, offering legal services across various areas including criminal defense, real estate, family law, and more. Harder and Shotland is committed to addressing the legal needs of individuals and businesses with a focus on thorough and knowledgeable representation. Information on Harder and Shotland Law Firm can be found at hardershotland.com or by visiting their office at 625 West Rollins Road in Round Lake Beach. They can also be reached at 847-546-0022.
Unlocking Lake County.
98.3 The Life.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Harder and Shotland Law Firm, offering legal services across various areas including criminal defense, real estate, family law, and more. Harder and Shotland is committed to addressing the legal needs of individuals and businesses with a focus on thorough and knowledgeable representation. Information on Harder and Shotland Law Firm can be found at hardershotland.com or by visiting their office at 625 West Rollins Road in Round Lake Beach. They can also be reached at 847-546-0022.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
You guys have a great radio station. You just play the best music.
Support for Unlocking Lake County comes from the Sly Marinka team at Cross Country Mortgage, specializing in a range of mortgage solutions tailored to meet the needs of homebuyers and homeowners. With a focus on delivering efficient and knowledgeable service, the Sly Marinka team is dedicated to facilitating a smooth mortgage process. Their office is located at 532 Lake Street, Suite A in Antioch, Illinois. They can also be reached at sly@ccm.com or by phone at 847-722-1775.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Unlocking Lake County.
98.3 The Life.
It's the best station on the radio.
Support for Unlocking Lake County comes from the Dick Barr Group at Village Realty, offering both residential and commercial real estate services across northeastern Illinois. Find us at our office located at 1915 East Grand Avenue in Lindenhurst, or visit us online at www.dickbarr.com. For a personal real estate experience, they can also be reached at 847-579-9736. At the Dick Barr Group, your property goals are their mission.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County
Unlocking Lake County.
with Dick Barr. 98.3 The Life.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Fidelity National Title Insurance Company, offering title insurance and real estate services. With origins tracing back over 150 years, Fidelity National Title facilitates secure closing processes for buyers, sellers, and real estate professionals. Anyone looking for more information can find them on the web at www.fntic.com. Fidelity National Title has offices located all throughout Lake and McHenry counties.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
You guys have a great radio station. You just play the best music.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Harder and Shotland Law Firm, offering legal services across various areas including criminal defense, real estate, family law, and more. Harder and Shotland is committed to addressing the legal needs of individuals and businesses with a focus on thorough and knowledgeable representation. Information on Harder and Shotland Law Firm can be found at hardershotland.com or by visiting their office at 625 West Rollins Road in Round Lake Beach. They can also be reached at 847-546-0022.
You're listening.
Because otherwise your segment wouldn't have gone out to the people watching. Okay, so we are back for those on the live stream, and we're here in the studio with. So you guys are new to the neighborhood. You just got a spot over by right next to Tacos El Norte, right?
Yes, sir.
Which is on the east side of Round Lake Beach, close to Jewel Osco, right?
Next door to Jewel and Tacos El Norte.
Great location.
Okay, over there. There used to be like a head shop or something right over there.
Yeah,
right?
there was.
Okay.
Yep.
We're in their previous location, correct?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to switch this camera around. We're going to try and capture both of you guys. Can you guys get a little bit closer to each other? In fact, actually, Kristen, do you mind? I'm going to take your camera away. I know you do mind, but too bad. we got lots of video points. I'm going to turn these both cameras so we have one on each. You don't have to look like brothers, brothers in arms. There.
We've known each other for long enough.
Okay, yeah. Hold on a second. I need to physically move that camera. Let me move that mic. Turn this over, and then. Because I know when we had two people on one camera last time, it just didn't get them good for the video shorts that we put together. Okay, so this one's being a pain in my butt. So, okay, so there's Dominic, and there's Christopher. Okay, that's good enough for me. Okay, so Kristen, you said head shop. I don't even know what that is, guys. What is a head shop?
Probably better known as a smoke shop. Anything that tobacco-based products, traditionally, any kind of accessories or, pipes and things of that nature.
Okay.
So your smoke shop with a little bit more accessories, essentially.
Are you guys considered a head shop?
Technically, we are. But we do offer the things that smoke shops do, but we don't do any tobacco products.
No tobacco?
No tobacco, no nicotine products.
Okay.
But we do carry a lot of the same things that you would find in a smoke shop or a traditional head shop. We're just a little different.
No, I noticed when I went into that store, the head shop, we call it, it was kind of corny, a little cartoonish. It almost looked like I was in Alice in Wonderland in some kind of psychedelic trip.
That's a good description right there.
Is it? Okay.
It looks like that's what they tried to do, in my opinion.
Is that what you guys do? Is that the same type of branding?
No. Our goal is really to clean that up, right? To give people a place they're comfortable coming into, and in a clean, relaxed environment, they can feel comfortable coming and asking questions about what we do. So the goal was to be inviting. The goal was to make everybody comfortable in there, not just the people interested in trippy worms or whatever was all over as well.
Trippy worms.
I think you turn a lot of people off with that. So we really try to create a space that's comfortable.
We're kind of catering towards more of the kind of
The stoner archetype.
more of the kind of the crowd, professional crowd.
Yeah.
More people going to come in. I looked at your decor, Chris. It's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Wood trims.
Did an incredible job.
Nice colors. It doesn't feel like you're in this kind of spacey place.
The goal was to really create a space that was familiar, right? Like when you go into, say, a health food store or something like that. Like we look at ourselves as an alternative option in that manner. So the goal was to create a space that you were going to feel comfortable coming in and that you felt like you could get some answers, right? The comfortability factor is huge because this is something new for people. They're coming in a little hesitant a lot of times and with a lot of questions. So when you feel like you don't know much, you come in a little bit reserved. And the idea is to give them a place where they feel comfortable and that everything that we do speaks to the quality of what we're trying to bring to the table. So we want that to be your first impression, right? When you walk in and you buy with your eyes first, right? So you come in and you assess, like, does this place feel like a place that I would purchase something,
And as you said, Dick, a little bit more of a professional demographic. I think that is a focus. The demographic that we want to invite it's a little bit more on the professional side, and we want a store that's not too in your face. Like you walk in and you're like, oh my gosh, what is all this stuff? And I think that we kind of got it, made it a little bit simpler and not as in your face.
Okay, cool. So, and I know from, and Kristen can back me up on this when we're trying to stage a home for sale, right? What are we trying to create? We're trying to create that atmosphere where people walk in, and regardless of their tastes, they should feel comfortable, neutral, and based, right?
Yes, that. And that's where, really that is, like what you said, just comfort level. Like, we want you to come in and find what you're looking for, not what we're trying to sell you, if that makes sense, right?
That makes a lot of sense. I've actually never stepped foot in any dispensary, and literally, you touched on it, it's intimidating.
It is.
I just haven't.
Yeah.
Granted, I don't really enjoy smoking weed. It was never really my thing. I'm a social person. I kind of liked drinking instead. I'm a mom now. I don't do anything. I'm not, I'm not cool. But I understand that there are a lot of other benefits now outside of just getting stoned, right?
Absolutely.
And I absolutely understand and agree with the premise that it can be beneficial for anyone as long as you know what you're looking for and you have someone helping guide you.
Yep.
And even knowing that, I've still never stepped foot in a dispensary because the concept of stepping foot into one is so intimidating.
It's still got a stigma to it, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And unfortunately, the way that the state has made them build these recreational dispensaries, because we're a bit different than them because we function on the hemp side of things, which I'm sure we'll kind of go into.
Yeah.
But the way that they make them build these places, they're not inviting. You don't get to see into them. They're very closed off. You got to pass a security guard, security check, all this stuff before you can even come into the door. So it puts this really big barrier between somebody who's already a little hesitant. Now I got to go through this screening and I can't actually see. So our goal with our stores is always big windows, lots of lights. We want you to be able to look in and go, you know what? That doesn't look so bad, right? That looks nice. Everybody in there smiling. As simple as those things sound, they do play a big role, right? When and I always put it like this: I want your grandma to feel comfortable coming in here and speaking to us, even though we are these cannabis guys. But they're intrigued, they're interested, they're looking for these answers, and we want to give them a place where they feel comfortable. In the same respect, we want the younger crowd, 21 and over, of course, but yes, we want them to feel like we didn't just abandon them either, right?
Yeah.
So we find a mix of a culture that is cannabis culture, right? And that there's no age range that determines that, because it's just about what are you looking for, right? And that's our goal, is to try to create as many options as we can, so we can hit as many of those as we can. Like what the 23-year-old college kid's looking for might be completely different than the 65-year-old retired woman who is just now kind of coming into this, seeing what it's about,
Without judging herself.
Without judging herself, and giving her a place that she's not going to feel uncomfortable being seen come out of. If that makes sense.
That's big point.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Just like you, Chris, and I won't step foot into I step foot into yours, Chris. Right? I know you. But I didn't buy anything.
Let's fix that.
Let's
fix that.
There's definitely a stigma there. There's no question.
Certainly, there is, and we understand that. That's okay. We know what we're up against in that respect, right? We know that.
What is the has the legalization of, let's start with cannabis. I know that's not your guys' shot. Has the legalization of cannabis led to more non-partakers becoming partakers?
Oh my gosh, so much so.
I think it's led to let a lot of people out of the closet, that they weren't ashamed of being a partaker, because a lot of people needed it for medicinal purposes.
Sure.
But the stigma was so heavy that they were, they didn't tell their brother.
And I'll definitely concede that there's a large portion of that. I'm curious to has this brought anyone out to become smokers who wouldn't have been?
Yes,
and I say smokers, but eaters, gummies, whatever.
Yeah, yes.
Right.
People who consume cannabis products. Let's go that way, right?
Perfect.
Yes. So, at the end of the day, and I do want to kind of touch on this. Let's clearly define what cannabis is, right? So, we are definitely a cannabis company. Cannabis is so versatile that we can grow genetics that give us the outcome that we want, right? And I like to use tomatoes because there's so many kinds of tomatoes, and it's something everybody understands. You have big tomatoes, little tomatoes. You have tomatoes that are sweet. You have tomatoes that are more bitter. You have tomatoes that create all these different types of tomatoes.
Hey, Dominic, I want to interrupt you just for a minute, because I think what you're saying is good. The camera's got the microphone in its way. What I'd like you to do is swing the boom, and then that way. Yeah, so we can kind of see your face, because I think it adds to the story.
And I'm really pretty, so
I've heard it all.
If we're saying you are, we got to say Sly is too.
Well, he is. Don't downplay our good looks over here. I like to use the tomatoes because I like to relate it to something that people understand and they've engaged with, right, and in everyday life, right? So, it's a very versatile plant. This plant can do more than any other plant that we've ever known in history, right? To creating products out of every piece of the plant, medicines out of every piece of the plant. I won't go so deep into that because I want to go into cannabinoids, but we can manipulate this plant to give us what we want. It is still a cannabis plant, right? There are a lot of compounds that come from these plants that do all sorts of different things to the body and get different reactions and other things that are not CBD or THC, which we'll define as cannabinoids, but terpenes, right? And terpenes are in all of our food. They're in almost every plant we know of. It's what gives them their smell and taste. So these terpenes also play a very huge role in the results that you're going to get from a certain product. Cannabis produces very unique terpenes in abundance that you just don't find in other places. So it's extremely medicinal on so many levels. Now, there is a very blurry line between hemp and what people consider traditional cannabis these days, right? It's very blurry, and for good reason, because there really shouldn't have been a line to begin with, right? THC is the most well known, right? And we'll refer to that one as Delta 9 THC specifically, because that is the one that everybody's been searching after since forever, right? That's the one. That's the one that we all know very well about. That's the one that's the compound that has the psychoactive effect that's going to get you high, right? So the one that everybody's been using for a very, very long time, right? For medicine or recreation, whatever your goal is. But there are hundreds of cannabinoids, and there's probably more than, I'm going to cite 144 that, and that might have even been grown, because the science is now able to be done, right? Because now we're opening that door. So when you say the legalization, what that does, it takes the reins off people being able to study it. And that's what hemp really did, because from a state level, it's very hard, right? When each state has its own rules for regulated cannabis, and you have to stay within these guidelines, and it really kind of like handcuffs them. Hemp opening up allowed them to really research cannabis as a whole plant, and the colleges to be able to get involved, the best minds in our country to be able to actually access this and see what we can do with it, right? There's so much more that could be done. So from that perspective, hemp and what we know as traditional weed or cannabis or whatever people want to call it, they're not so different. They're really not. The same compounds are still produced in hemp, and it's just the amount that is produced in each plant, which we can actually manipulate by planting specific plants, right?
So can hemp be psychotropic?
Yes, absolutely.
It can.
Yes.
Legally can be?
Legally can be, because this is what you're seeing sweep across the nation right now, because what's happening, Delta 9 THC can be derived from hemp itself, right? It is there in a small amount, but ultimately what can happen, and what happens naturally in the plant, is these compounds start as what we call the mother cannabinoid, which is CBG. So CBG is the starting point for most cannabinoids. As the plant matures and it goes through different cycles, it actually turns into different cannabinoids through the plant's life cycle. So we can actually do that in a laboratory as well, in a safe way. We can actually manipulate CBD. So we can grow CBD in abundance, extract said CBD, take it into a lab in a safe way. We can convert these through heat, through all different types of processes, heat being a major one that actually converts cannabinoids. And we can turn these into psychoactive compounds known as like Delta 9 or Delta 8 THC or Delta 10. There's a lot of them. I won't go too far off track there, but Delta 8 and Delta 9 are the two that are very well known right now. Delta 9 is the one that you've been chasing after or not your whole life, right?
Yeah.
So
what about, I'm sorry to interrupt you, what about THCA, Dominic?
Let me go there.
Okay.
So, because we got to give them some context, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what THCA is yet, and we're going to go there now, because THCA is where Delta 9 starts, right? For most people, because the plant itself doesn't actually produce a whole lot of Delta 9 THC naturally. It actually produces very little, but when we cook it, or when we set it on fire or heat it above 180 degrees, those THCA molecules, which is basically THCA, the A part is an acid, right? So once it heats, that acid goes away and it converts to Delta 9 THC at an 87.7% rate. So when you take a THCA number, right, which is THC with the acid molecule still attached, and you heat it, it then turns into Delta 9 THC at an 87% rate, right? So because it's still derived from hemp legally, it's still legal as long as the concentration of the item we're giving you is less than 0.3 total Delta 9 THC by dry weight volume. So what that means is we can still put the right amount. We can still put 100 milligrams in a Rice Krispie treat, because the Rice Krispie treat has weight as dry weight as well. So it's 0.3 total of the treat itself. So that means we can actually put Delta 9 THC because it's still derived from hemp.
So it's not the weight of the hemp.
No,
it's the weight
not.
of the product.
It's the weight of the product
Right.
itself,
Okay.
right? And
Yeah.
This is the way that they wrote the Farm Bill, and this is the way they decided to stay with the Farm Bill, right? They've had opportunities to change this. They have not, right? And it's helped a lot of people. It's created what I believe to be free market cannabis. We can ship this all over the country. As a matter of fact, one of my other companies, we have been one of the largest exporters of hemp in the United States for the last 3 years. We've put over 10,000 pounds a year into Switzerland alone of
You
CBD
export?
flower. We do, yes, sir.
Wow.
At scale, yeah.
Here from Illinois?
Well, no, technically from it comes out of Oregon.
Okay.
And then it hits the port in San Francisco.
Okay.
And then it flies Swiss Air to Switzerland. So Switzerland has a 1% rate. So they bring in a lot.
More than 3 times.
Yeah, so they bring in, which that 0.3 number really never had a whole lot of basis. There was never really much to base that off of. They don't really have a good reason why 0.3.
So Chris, is that like 4 C whatevers in radon? Like arbitrary number?
Arbitrary number.
Arbitrary number, but it is funny you say that
This
because Ron Paul just endorsed a new standard of 1.0.
Yeah, and we're seeing that, you know, and he's actually been a big proponent for it the whole time. Like, so when it comes to that, we're seeing movement in the right direction. We're seeing acceptance across the board from everybody. Delta 8 a lot of times gets a very bad
Misleading,
spin
right?
on it.
Yeah.
People try to label it as a synthetic thing, and it's not. If it was, it would not be allowed. It is found in the plant, just in smaller amounts.
So you don't consider what you do as genetically modifying it by applying
well,
the different heat?
Yes, and no. Yes and no. But I don't look at that as a bad thing. Right?
Right.
We are genetically modifying it at the plant level, but we're doing it naturally. With this plant is so versatile that when you put 2 of them next to each other, they do it on their own. We pick a male and a female that have different traits. We put them next to each other. We let them do their dance. And then what comes out, we take that. Just like an apple tree. Apple trees are the same way. Every apple that you know to be a Honeycrisp is a grafted tree. That's not a seed that was planted. You can't buy Honeycrisp seeds. It doesn't work that way. Every apple you've ever known has been genetically manufactured by us doing what we call pheno hunting. So we grow a bunch of plants. We find the ones that give us what we want. We get rid of the rest. We keep that, and we build upon that. That's how apples work. That's how a lot of things work. That's why Honeycrisp is so sweet, and it always tastes like a Honeycrisp because we take a piece of a Honeycrisp tree and we attach it to another tree, and it grows Honeycrisp. Right?
I have an apple tree at home that grows 4 different kind of apples.
Right.
Neat.
Yeah, because
I
you
didn't
can
even know
graft
it
them.
existed.
You can
until
do
this year.
Naturally, you don't graft it to make that happen?
No, you do.
I bought it at Home Depot and I planted it.
It was grafted before
Okay.
he got it.
Yes.
So
Gotcha.
So we can manipulate them in that way, right? But we can also, all we're doing in the lab is speeding up processes that are already natural. We're just giving them catalysts to do so.
Okay.
So it's not creating an unsafe product in any way, shape, or form. As a matter of fact, I'd say the opposite. Like, this is regulated, and nobody's against the regulation, right? Nobody's against this. Like, please, like, tighten this industry up. A lot of us that are out here doing good business, we would love for you to tighten things up. Just don't over tighten them, right? Where
Yeah,
we
I hear
can't
that.
function.
I completely understand what you're saying. They're
You know what I mean?
totally different businesses, but I mean, I kind of felt the same way every time we've ever talked about the changes within our industry about having to have commission conversations with our clients. And I'm like, I'm for it. I think it's good to have to tighten up some of that and not benefit off of our clients being uneducated in some of those realms. So I completely understand what you're saying.
Yeah, don't over tighten. Don't restrain the trade.
You know,
but yet make it so it's the bar for entry is not so low that unscrupulous people can get in and do whatever they want.
And it's not getting into underage kids' hands.
Well,
Yes.
That's easy. That's the easy part, right? Like, we know how to do that. We've been selling alcohol for a long time. That part's already done. Like, that part we know how to do, right? It's more so making sure that we're bringing a quality product to the market that's been checked. So there are some standards that have to be there. And like what you're saying, like, let's not let these bad actors, or I don't even use that terminology because they use it, but these unscrupulous people who are only there for the money, right? And those people exist in every industry.
100%.
Right? So we're not going to completely get away from that, but let's make it a little harder for them. But let's not make it harder for the normal person who wants to get in and sees an opportunity to start a business they're excited about. And that's what regulated cannabis has done. It's a club. If you ain't in it, you ain't in it.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter the amount of money that you have, it's not getting you in there, right? And I've seen that time and time again.
And to give an example, Henry Ford built an entire car derived from hemp. He fueled and ran that car derived from hemp, and then everything got tightened up, and then they dissolved the industry, and we might have lost out on having more technology.
Because it's stronger than steel, and because it's more efficient than a lot of things, the other industry snuffed it out. But
Wait, so hemp was used as a hard product?
Henry Ford made every single part and powered a car 100% solely out of cannabis or hemp-derived products.
Interesting.
Wow.
That many years ago. So imagine where we could be today.
BMW does it now. Their door panels, like hemp can be harder than steel and incredibly light. You can make entire planes out of it.
Wow.
There's
I did it.
You can go so many directions. That is a whole nother ball game of industrial. Is a completely different conversation, and it's completely different. We're talking about a different plant at this point. Those plants don't really create cannabinoids. They're grown for their fiber, and they're grown for those purposes. They don't actually create the same thing. Same with food.
But they do fall under the same regulations, correct?
They do. They do.
When I was a kid, I think and I don't know if this was a urban legend or not, but we were told that hemp was originally outlawed because it was used in the manufacture of paper, and then the paper manufacturers got together to help. That's a true story?
True. It's true. It's in a lot of industries. One being cotton is a big one, right? Because cotton wears out, hemp wears in. So it doesn't, when you start creating jeans, right? Just like Levi used to make jeans, their first jeans were made out of hemp. But guess what? You don't have to buy a new pair anytime soon because they're not going to break down like cotton.
Well, that's not good
so
for
that's
business.
not a good business move, is it? So when you look at the cotton industry at this point in time, where are we at in this country, right? Like, slave labor is driven into the cotton industry. This is what we're talking about. Our forefathers were growing hemp, right? George Washington and all of them were growing hemp. This was a massive crop for them. But money took over, and money decided that cotton was going to be the way that this country went, and they built infrastructure around it. So even though that's what we lack now in this country, China is a million miles ahead of us in the hemp space when it comes to creating products with it, because their infrastructure exists, and we don't have the infrastructure built here in the United States to do industrial the way that we would like to. Canada controls all of the food, right? Like, so they grow more hemp seed than anybody else in the world, and you know who they sell it to? Us. We buy it all. So we're buying Canadian products because the United States government decided they didn't want to let us grow our own, but we could buy it from Canada.
Interesting.
Billions and billions of dollars of it every year.
And we have plenty of fertile ground to do it, right?
More than Canada.
Right. Wow.
By a long shot.
By a long shot.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
Sorry, I'm going to switch gears a little bit. So, spoken as someone who's never stepped foot in a dispensary, what is your expectation level for your clients walking in the door as far as education and knowledge of what they're looking for? Do you expect your clients to walk in with a certain base level of what they're doing, or do you expect a lot of questions?
We're going to meet you at wherever you're at. So our first question is, what brought you in here today? And what are you looking for? What are we trying to accomplish? Right?
And then our listeners should say, Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr, 98.3, the live event.
And so that's that. At the end of the day, like, we're here to find out what you came here for, right? So I expect nothing from you. I'm just grateful that you're here, right? And that's the way we approach everything. Every person that comes to the door, even if we're just here to educate you, that's great.
That's our focus.
That's part of what we're looking to accomplish.
Listen to that passion in his voice when he says it too. I believe you when you say
it.
Good,
because I fully mean that, and we do. We really do. And if you engage with us ever, you'll see that very, very quickly. We genuinely care about every person that comes through the door.
And I'm willing to bet someone will come in, ask for that education, say thank you very much, have a good day.
They do.
And you did your job, and you felt like you did your job.
And we're just as happy, because we're going to be we're gonna be fine, right?
That's
And
awesome.
Yeah.
like what we talked about earlier, right? This is a referral based. Word of mouth is everything, right? Your reputation for doing the right thing is everything. That's why we will 100% guarantee every one of our products, no matter if you ate half of it or not. You come back in, no questions asked.
I don't want to
return.
get too much into like,
You know?
because like I don't want to get into personal, individual business.
We
practice.
just guarantee what we
Right.
do. Right?
Understood.
We stand by it.
I want to go because you mentioned medicinal purposes. So I'm going to create a couple of hypotheticals.
Sure.
I come into your shop and I have pain. You have a recommendation for me, and don't tell me what it is.
What kind of pain?
Let's say chronic back pain.
Sure, I definitely have recommendations for you.
Okay.
A few, actually.
What about muscle pain?
Absolutely.
Okay. I've got, let's say,
Migraines.
Migraines.
Absolutely.
If I come in and I say, okay, I have Parkinson's, is there something that you have for that? Not that to curative.
Absolutely that one.
Yeah.
Chronic stress.
100% that one too.
Are you allowed to say certain things are good for certain ailments from an FDA standpoint?
Specifically, no.
Okay.
No, we're not,
So
and we
probably
don't make
something
claims.
More
Never.
along the lines of we've
Never
seen
make the
this
claim.
be helpful.
No, we tell stories. We're
Yeah.
good storytellers.
What
Yes.
about neurodivergence?
Yes,
Yeah.
That's
especially your
incredible.
nervous system.
Yeah.
I would highly encourage people to go dig and do some homework on the way your body reacts to CBD alone. Just go do your own homework. It's easy. Google it, and there's a million videos that break it
interesting.
down beautifully of how cannabinoids interact with your endocannabinoid system that every one of us has.
So someone wants to come in there and say, hey, listen, I have one of these ailments, what's traditional, but I don't want to sit there like a stoner. I don't want to sit there eating my couch or my pillow.
Absolutely.
Sorry to interrupt. Before there's a recommendation, there's probably going to be some follow-up questions that make sure there's not anything else that's going to be effective.
Contraindicate.
You got it.
Well, we always tell everybody, like, before, if you have some type of if you're taking any kind of medication, consult your doctor. Like,
Yeah, of
make
course.
sure that
Yeah.
you're talking to him first. The last
Great.
thing we want to do is give you.
You hear that,
something we
Pfizer?
shouldn't,
You can sponsor us again.
consult your doctor.
No.
Just
They're not
kidding.
the
Pfizer's
doctor.
not my sponsor.
But at the end of the day, like, we're here to find out what's going to work for you, and we're not. There's no silver bullet, but there's certainly options for everybody. And like you said, to avert from that stoner mentality, not everything has to be smoked. Not everything has to be eaten. It can go on topically. And not to go too
Let's
far,
not get
but
into too many specifics of
I was
those.
gonna say it can go in just about anywhere. Let's just
Oh,
start
boy.
there. So
Where's
and-
my 6-second delay?
and it does, and gosh, there's just so many options. Right?
Yeah.
And that's the beautiful
And-
part about all this. Is
yeah.
There's so many options that we're going to find what could or maybe will work for you, or at least help point you in the right direction.
That's
We're
incredible.
We're not doctors. We don't pretend to be doctors. We don't pretend to even have any of that information. We would always just tell you to go do your homework, go do your research, and then we can come back and find what's going to fit your lifestyle and what you're looking to accomplish.
What I think is really profound, though, in the middle of everything that you're saying, and you haven't said it at all yet, but this is what I'm hearing. In a world where we have an opioid crisis for pain management,
Yes.
the fact that you guys are able to offer an alternative to opioid addiction to help people manage chronic pain is so powerful. Like, think about on a grand scale, right? Because you talked about how you export, about how you ship all over the place, and you'll never know the real number, right? But
True.
even if it's just one person, but the likelihood of it being more than that is high, the amount of lives that could have potentially been saved from having alternative pain management options to opioids is
can't-
profound. I have goosebumps just thinking about it.
Cannot even tell you how many of those stories that we have.
Yeah.
I had a woman yesterday just that we started a new drink company called Green Goddess, and we were just demoing this for her, and she was just trying the samples, and she started crying.
Yeah.
Because she said, this is the first time that I've not been in pain without taking a Norco.
Wow.
And I can't remember. And now that wasn't the basis. She was a business owner looking to take on one of our products, and that's what happened.
Wow.
That happens to us so much. I cannot even begin to describe how many times that happens.
That's so powerful.
And going backwards a little bit there, as far as how we recommend stuff, we do just make recommendations. We're not going to say this will take care of that, because it's like Dominic taking an aspirin and me taking an aspirin. Aspirin might not help my headache. I might be an ibuprofen guy.
Sure.
Yeah.
But we do try to facilitate options and recommendations.
Yeah, we have recommendations, but ultimately it needs to be what fits your life, right? Like,
Sure.
You know, I might think that you should try one. It's not up to me. Our job is to show you what we have and let you decide what fits your life. We're not salesmen. We present. We just show you the options. That's our only goal. And if you come in, you'll feel that very quickly.
So
Well, and I have to imagine it's kind of like any other medication journey, right? It's all trial and error. Just because you tried one ADHD medication, for example, and if it doesn't suit you well, that doesn't mean give up ADHD medication altogether if you have ADHD.
Or how much you
or
should be
whatever.
taking.
Right, exactly.
Maybe we
Maybe
just
the
got to
dosage
dial
off.
this in. Maybe we just
Mhm.
got to dial this in. And like I said, there's no silver bullet. We can't, nor will we say that this is going to do X for you. We don't know. Mainly because our bodies are so different. The way that they might react to certain things, like what gets me to a certain place may very well not be what does it for you. It's very much a personal journey that you got to kind of take.
I had a couple come into the shop yesterday. They were in their late 60s, early 70s, Navy veteran. I'm a Marine vet. So I, of course, was chatting it up with him while one of our tenders was helping his wife. And I was like, can I help you with anything, sir? And he's like, oh, no. I'm here for her pain and stuff like that. I go, I noticed you holding your hand there. And he's like, oh, yeah, but I don't want to use that stuff because it's not for me. She enjoys it. I go, well, are you telling me you're just worried about like the psychedelics or the effect of it, like making you feel like you're intoxicated?
Psychoactive. Let's go there.
That's
because
what I was looking
psychedelics
for.
going to
Thank
make you
you.
trip out.
Thank you. I was looking for psychoactive. Thank you very much.
Psychoactive.
So he said that's exactly what I'm worried about. And I said, well, I used to have that same concern because I was a construction worker, a union construction worker for a lot of years, and I absolutely could not have that in my system. But I love this product, and I showed him a salve that we have that I use on my hands because I have bad arthritis. And he tried a little sample on his hands, and before he left, he said, you're right, that really does work. And he turned around and he bought a jar before he left.
Wow.
And let's touch on just that real quick, because there are so many products that we offer that can potentially offer relief that are non-psychoactive. Like that have nothing. CBD is non-psychoactive.
So your customers aren't people that are looking to get high coming in.
They're both.
Yeah, also you can be. And
It's
there's
amazing.
nothing wrong
It's
with
amazing how
somebody
many
who's coming in
people-
looking to get high, right? Bars exist for that reason.
Holy
People are
cow.
coming in looking to get drunk.
Let me tell you, these little old ladies, they like to have fun. Okay, so these ladies come in and they are like,
Absolutely.
oh my gosh, and I'm like,
But
can we get you
CBD can
this?
do that?
CBD doesn't, but we also sell THC as well,
Mm-hmm.
hemp-derived delta-9 THC. So
you do both.
We do both, yes. So we do have a whole array of products that certainly will have a psychoactive effect if you smoke them or eat them or even rub them on the
Very
skin. But we
interesting.
have a whole line that doesn't. Now we do have, and let's just touch on CBD for a second, and this full spectrum, and the difference between a full spectrum product and maybe what we call a broad spectrum product. Full spectrum has THC in it in a very small amount. If you eat all of it, yes, you will get high. But if you take a smaller, more recommended dose, you are not going to get high. But they have a synergistic effect. So the more that we strip away what we call the minor profile of cannabinoids, we have a dominant one, which will be CBD or THC, and then we have the other minors that are the smaller ones that actually have what we call an entourage effect, and they help each other work. You know, something similar to like a CalMag-D that you might understand, right? Like one helps usher the other one in and make it more effective or make it effective at all. So there's a lot of that, and we have products that are zero THC products that are only CBD products. So if the THC in any amount is a problem for you, we also have those solutions as well. And CBD in itself is non-psychoactive. So you could eat as much of it as you want and you will not get high.
Yeah.
And
And
there will be no adverse effect either. Like, not that science, and I mean, this is not my words. That's why I say go do this research. It's essentially like taking a vitamin. What your body wants, it'll take, and the rest it'll let go. It'll just pass through. And once you give it a consistent amount, you'll start seeing the results. With CBD, what I like to say is that it's less about what you feel and more about what you don't feel.
Exactly.
Right? The pain went away. You're sleeping better. Whatever that is
The
for you.
inflammation.
Yeah, whatever that is, whatever that thing you were looking for, it's the absence of it. It's not the rush that hits you like if you're getting high or whatever that is, right? Like, it's not that. It's how did you sleep? right? And even leaning into that more, a lot of times you'll hear our staff, some more than others, say other things like, "You're not sleeping well. Are you drinking water?" Like, because let's get to some other root things before we just start throwing stuff at it. Like, how are we doing these other parts of our life? Because we're talking holistic.
I was going to say, what a wellness experience.
And it is. And
wow.
like you said, you just nailed it with that word. It's an experience.
Yeah.
We're trying to do this different. We want to create an experience for you. We want you to come out of there feeling like you learned something and that you were better than you walked in some way, shape, or form. We can add value to your life. That's how I feel
in this episode, for the record.
So that's what I was touching on earlier when I was like, they're going to have some follow-up questions for you because we're not in a rush to sell you something. We want to help you. And if we just try to throw something in your hands, we're not trying to help you realistically. We want to make sure that we're giving you the right recommendations. And hey, maybe you do need to just drink like another 3 bottles of water a day.
Hey, and I'll say that if you have joint pain, start with the water.
Yep.
Okay, it's the lubricant for everything, and not to go too crazy on there, but start drinking water and taking in some salt and electrolytes and watch what happens to your body. It's pretty amazing, right?
I got mine with me right now.
It works. It works, right?
Absolutely.
Exactly. And you got them electrolytes in there, right? So we're going to lean towards that because, like I said earlier, we genuinely care about how you feel coming out of here. Because overall, just like you guys in the real estate space, like if you take care of that customer, they're going to come back to you in 7 or 8 years, like you said, Dick. They're going to buy another home, and who are they going to call? Right. So, or their mom wants to sell their house or whatever, they're going to go to who actually brought value to them and took care of them
and gave them experience.
So overall, that's the goal: is to take care of them and give them the best experience we can.
So before we lose time to do this, I want to make sure that if people have questions or they want to learn more about your shop, your guys, I'm assuming you have a website?
We do.
What's the website?
SugarLeafHemp.com.
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 Is there a store phone number if they can?
Yeah, you can Google us. Yeah, Google us and give us a call. And anybody in the shop will be happy to talk to you and answer any questions that you have too, for sure.
Okay. What is the if someone had to make a decision, cannabis,
yes.
Okay, so marijuana specifically,
Yep.
or hemp, what do they typically go? What makes them go one way versus another?
What their knowledge is.
Thought process and their understanding of the space. We're not allowed to. We're not allowed to advertise a lot of times like they are. They get in places that we can't. Like, in advertising in the cannabis space is hard in general. But we have a lot more education than they do. That we have to help people understand what it is we actually do.
What type of advertisement restrictions do you have?
Well, we've been turned down for multiple billboards. We're not allowed to advertise on the internet, like the way that we can't talk about our products on Facebook or Instagram. Our pages consistently get taken down. If you try to find us on Instagram right now, you won't, because they took our page away. Just for talking about our products, right? So we're very restricted in a lot of those ways, which has really pushed us to have to go grassroots.
Mm-hmm.
But you build a real customer base when you go grassroots, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you're really connecting with the people on the ground and you're really answering real questions.
Yeah, I'm surprised because I would thought there would be more restrictions on cannabis advertising. I see their billboards all over the place.
That's what I thought too, and I was like, that is not the case. And I guess if you got big money, you got big billboards.
It's about being able to call the right person and make them push the right button for you, right? And tax revenue and all of those things, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? So they know who they're trying to help. It's a club, and we ain't in it. You know what I'm saying? So it's okay.
It's funny how much morality is okay if there's tax revenue involved.
Ain't it? Yes, exactly.
You got it.
So
like all other big industry.
Yeah, they know who they want to help, and they
no
don't.
Gambling.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean we can tax it? Okay, gambling.
All right, well then put them in every gas station from here to wherever, right? Like
and Walgreens.
Yeah, exactly. So at the end of the day, this is a grassroots industry. It has been for a very, very long time, right? And just to kind of touch back on what Christos had said earlier about, and you had mentioned that different demographic, right? Like how many people were missing out because Janice doesn't have a weed dude. She doesn't know that dude, right? She doesn't know where she could actually go get this, or somebody to make her brownies or make her a gummy that's going to help her with her pain. So many people did not have access because they would never go down that road. We were outlaws for a long time. Like, we're now just able to pay the man, right? So, and we're paying taxes. We're happy to. Sure. We're happy to build a real industry. We're happy to build a real business and something we can stand behind. But this has been grassroots. So these grassroots people know what we're doing.
No pun intended.
Yeah, exactly. Right?
What's really interesting, though, is like looking at the demographic shift from generation to generation. So like, I'm a millennial, right in the middle, like smack dab millennial. My husband, same thing. And he runs a company where he has a lot of younger people working for him. It's just that type of environment. And it's really interesting to just see how open and normalized the younger generation, like his employees, are about their usage of all marijuana products, right? Like, they'll be like, oh, sorry, I was late. I had some anxiety, so I had to hit my pen before I came in. And Rob's like, you just told your boss that you just got high before coming into work. Am I a square for thinking that's inappropriate, or is this the new normal?
What if it makes him a better employee?
Well, right, exactly. And he's not crazy about it.
Not saying that it will, but what if it does?
Right. For sure.
It makes me a better person. I consume it all day long, and I'll run circles around most people that I know, right? And it's not the same for everybody.
It's just interesting that shift, though, in the societal norm, right? Because like, being millennials, you never ever would have gone into work and told your boomer boss that you were stoned. Oh my God, you'd be thrown in jail in their mind. You know what I mean? Like, you're a criminal now. Yeah. And so like, the fact that it's just so normalized and talked about, and that shift happened, at least from my perspective, so rapidly that it kind of felt like whiplash. All of a sudden, these younger people are just so open about it.
Yeah, you're 100% right. And you know, I was actually talking to somebody yesterday, and I don't know where he pulled this stat from, but he owned a dispensary, and they said that cannabis use in that 65 and up range has doubled in the last year in Illinois.
Good, because they're probably the ones who needed the most.
I think it was always like that. They just are getting stats on it now because the stigma is lifting.
Well, the problem is like, like I said, they didn't have access to it. We hear this all the time. I can't believe it's legal now, and I can come in here and buy this, and like, I've wanted to for so long, but they're afraid to walk out of our store, let alone meet some dude in a parking lot to grab a bag. You know what I mean? And there wasn't options. There wasn't gummies. There wasn't any of this. And what there was probably black market from some other state or whatever it was. It just wasn't safe. That's why we mean like,
with fentanyl.
Give us some regulation. Make us test this. We have no problem.
Yeah.
Just let us do what we do, and don't make it so hard to open a business that does this, and quit don't put so many barriers to entry, especially financial barriers to entry. So, and that's what they did really big, very much so in the regulated space. So the hemp space is this industry is insanely creative, and they will find a pivot there. And I love that about this industry in general. It's so creative. But you see, even like a friend of mine is a police officer in Crystal Lake, and he was telling me the other day that I want to say it was the Plains, and it might not be. I might be wrong on this, but they're allowing their firefighters and their police to consume cannabis.
I was just going to say, my neighbor's an iron worker, and the iron worker union is having a hard time getting the younger generation as a whole in the unions to get in there. And they're hearing overwhelmingly a consistent answer is, we can't do anything we want to do. Like, it's legal for everybody else to consume cannabis, but if we're a union member, we can't. That's not fair.
How about the fact that our firefighters and our police are some of the most stressed out people in this country, and the most underappreciated people in this country, and they deal with things that we couldn't even fathom on a daily basis. Are they stressed? Yeah, they're stressed. So alcohol is an option, but you can't go home and consume something that takes away the stress without a gaggle of negative effects that we're aware of from alcohol, right?
Yeah,
like,
on
so
a personal and physical basis.
On a personal and physical basis. Right. Thank you. So that's what I'm saying. Is like, some of these people, even iron workers, these are some of the hardest working people in this country.
Sure.
Do they not deserve relief? They do.
I'm going to rain on this parade just a little bit, because I'm going to give you a little bit of the perspective from. So I'm a Gen Xer, grew up with Nancy Reagan's, war against drugs.
Totally.
Right?
Just say no.
Same.
Just say
Yep.
no. This is your brain.
We're a team.
This is your brain on drugs.
Yeah, right. And I, I'll be honest with you. So I there's a part of me that believes the stigma. Okay. There's also a personal experience where I know how that has affected me to the detriment. But I've seen people in my family who are ADHD where if they do something, they take something, you don't even know it because they're actually acting normal instead of crazy. I don't partake because it puts me in a space that I don't like to be in. I don't like to feel sleepy. I don't like to be unaware of my surroundings. I also can't pay well attention. So people like me, I don't think I want firemen doing that because I don't know how they respond to it.
Not on the job. You're not allowed to drink on the job either.
Right.
You can't have a drink on the job, but you could go home and de-stress. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about reeling down at the end of the night. When this fireman just went to a car accident and it was the most horrific scene that you've ever seen, he's going to go home and soothe that somehow. And is it okay for him to drown himself in Jack Daniels?
It is okay, yeah,
Is
according
it?
to the rules. No, I'm not saying it's
That's
okay.
what I'm saying.
Right,
So
yeah,
that's why I'm
yeah.
just using this as because this is our daily life.
It's almost expected.
Right.
It is, isn't
Yeah.
it? And do you think that makes him aware on the job the next day?
Probably not.
Probably not.
Right.
Right. And do you think that becomes a really nasty habit that probably he dips into in the middle of the day? Probably.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, say
Are
what
there
you will.
addictive properties to this?
None that we
Great
know of.
question.
None that we know of. There's no science
I
that
feel like I
backs
want to
that.
challenge that thought. I know so many people growing up that were like, "Sorry, I'm in a bad mood. I haven't smoked today." Or
That's
like,
a personal
yeah.
choice.
Yeah.
We're talking about physical addiction where I need this to function or I'll go through withdrawals. I don't want to be irritated. That's the same thing. No, that's
More of a psychological
it's
addiction,
very
you're
much
saying.
Exactly. It's like
More of a habit.
tobacco. You're not going to get sick or die from quitting smoking cigarettes.
But you will have
in
physical
fact,
results. Like
you will have
physical
physical results.
withdrawals. You'll
There's
sweat,
definitely withdrawals
You'll
from
gain
nicotine.
weight. There's massive withdrawals with nicotine.
Yeah.
You are insanely addicted to nicotine.
yeah.
I think more so.
But
Some people
personality
say
too,
more
though.
so than heroin on nicotine.
You think so? Oh, it was just an example. Maybe a bad example.
How about let's use one that everybody is addicted to. Sugar.
There you go. Perfect.
I see.
So
I do keto.
Pepsi.
I don't do sugar.
So sugar is massively